What's up, AfterBuzzers? That's right. It's another installment of the Magician's After Show right here on AfterBuzz TV. That's right. We're talking season 3, episode 8. We're talking 6 short stories about magic. So stick around and we'll talk about all 6 of them.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
That old black magic.
There we go.
I like that we're keeping it in 50s themed. Good choice, Adrian.
Yeah,
I like starting with some mellow energy.
exactly.
I dig it.
Mr. Sinatra.
There we go. There we
A very
go.
complicated man.
Guys, y'all know what time it is. It's that time. It's that channel. It's time for another installment of the Magician's After Show right here on AfterBuzz TV. We are talking season 3, episode 8, 6 short stories about magic. Carrie Lane out one more week, but I promise she will be back to lead the charge next week. But in her stead, my name is Ty Matthews. Y'all can find me on all forms of social media at Ty Matthews PMA.
Oh my.
Joining me as always, my
Hi.
absolute favorite co-host on the planet.
I'm Joelle Monique, and now I'm awake. Thank
There
you,
you go.
Ty.
There you go.
You can find me all over the internet at Joelle Monique, and every week at blackgirlnerds.com.
Hi, I'm Adrian Snow. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Adrian Snow. And can we also get the chat up?
Yeah, let's get that chat.
I'm about to bring it up here in the phone, too.
Perfect
I'm not
segue.
texting the boyfriend.
Y'all, if you're watching the live stream on YouTube, get in that live chat. Talk to us. You can chat with us about your thoughts on this episode in real time. We'll do our best to respond. We've got a lively group in there every week that we love talking to. But if you're in YouTube, if you're in or on YouTube, remember to leave us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, talk to us about it. If you're on iTunes after the fact, we still appreciate you all the same. Download, comment, review, subscribe, rate 5 stars if you're nasty. We love you. We want to talk to you about the magicians.
Can we talk about that season 4 announcement that came out today?
Oh boy, that's right. Right up
News
top.
update.
Right up top. Got some news. The Magicians officially renewed for season 4.
Thank God.
Pretty exciting stuff. Pretty exciting stuff. I dig it.
You know, we might be back for 2019.
We will be back.
might also just be more advanced in our...
We ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. We've talked about it before. There are other Magicians after shows. Watch that throne. So we're staying right here.
We are going to stay here.
Right
the
here.
Magician Show after show will always be here.
Guys, I feel like we need crowns now. There are 4 kings and queens of Fillory.
It's true.
are.
It's
You
true.
know, and we have
We're
a
OG.
king and 3 queens
Of course.
because we're more luxurious.
Of course, obviously.
And I feel like we need crowns. I'm going to work on that.
I like it. I
can do
dig it.
that.
Done and done.
And get us some nice Burger King crowns.
There you go. There you go. Guys, there you go.
I love it.
Yes.
So first off, the season 4 announcement. Second off, I know some people don't like to watch the next on segment, but how exciting is it that next week we get a musical episode?
Yay!
I know.
Every musical moment on this show has been like perfection.
It's been pretty phenomenal.
Every time it hits you, you're like, I feel so many emotions. And they went so hard in the paint financially last year to get some of these songs, including Taylor Swift, who's notoriously difficult to get songs for.
Of course.
So I'm excited to see what they have for like an entire episode. It's going to be bonkers.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely crazy bonkers. We're on board for it. We get a little bit loopy here, guys. It's not that late, but it's late enough.
Hey.
We've had long days. Our producer, another one of my favorite people in the booth. Guys, everyone say hi to Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hello.
Steve, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing all right. Doing pretty good.
Good. Living the dream.
Yes, sir.
You're making the dream possible for us.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about it. Let's talk about 6 short stories about magic.
Penny.
Let's talk about Penny, and let's talk about Benedict, and let's talk about this friendship between the two.
Or,
Friendship.
yeah,
The
lack
quote-unquote
thereof.
Friendship.
I just feel for Benedict, though.
Yeah.
Of
I mean,
course.
I've been there. I've been like, we're great friends, right? And someone's been like, no, not unless I need something from
I don't
you.
even
Yeah.
like you that much.
Yeah.
So what? Even though you're the only person who cried when I died. Jesus, Penny, grow a heart.
Right?
On the flip side of that, I'm just so happy that Penny's being treated like a main character. Like,
Yeah.
he's opening the stories are revolving around
Yeah.
him. Like,
He was
this
sort
is
of the
great.
crux. Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been the one fault with the Magicians, and so to see it now, I'm like, it's now a perfect show.
Exactly.
I finally saw the knotless tie everyone kept talking about because you guys were talking about hair.
Oh
and you're
yeah.
like, how do I not look down at his tie? And I finally was like, Adrian, look down. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
It's a crazy look.
It's
It's
like
a crazy
they
look.
put it under, and so you like flips
Yeah.
it over.
Yeah, I like it. I dig it. I'm gonna try it. I tried the Trinity knot before. I'm gonna go for the knotless
And
tie
then you did
look.
it so well, too.
Yeah.
You said tried, you like
It's
mastered
tough.
it.
It's tough. That is a tricky one. That one, the Eldritch knot, Cape knot, all sorts of weird stuff's going on, but it's magic. That's why. Yeah, the knotless look is pretty crazy. I feel like what was it in? There's a movie in the 70s. I just recently looked it up that it was kind of featured in. I want to say Midnight Cowboy. Might have been Midnight Cowboy. Who knows?
That's when boleros are big, so I believe it.
There you go. There you go. We're talking about ties here, guys. We're talking about fashion.
We're talking about Penny in the
That's why they call
underworld.
me Ty Matthews.
Was anyone kind of surprised to see it look like almost like a refugee camp, sort of?
Right.
Oh,
Like
because
very
they lost. Was it? Oh, and they were over. Were they overstaffed? Or overpopulated? Because there was still the waiting room because the original guy
Right.
Penny ran into
Right,
tried
right,
to
right.
send him there.
Well,
So-
they did mention that the library was the only part of the underworld that functions now. Now that the wellspring is pretty much
Yeah, so
run dry.
I assumed because they couldn't magically create space for these people anymore, they had to send it into like a kind of like
There you go.
yeah.
porta potties. That's a low point, guys.
But I love the strategy of, or I guess kind of the bartering system that's used when Penny's putting in this request to find Benedict.
Yes.
That they deal in Game of Thrones
Spoilers.
information. Spoilers. Yeah, exactly.
I loved it, and I love that he didn't know a single. I was like, Penny, you are an anomaly because even when I never watched Game of Thrones, I had an idea of what was happening.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
I like that tap dance that he did, though. He was like, 8 dragons. Where did he get up? That's the question. We don't even know. I buy that. I buy it.
He won the throne game.
Also, I feel like this is a great thing to deal in. Like, it's something that everyone can have access to as they come back. Come back as they die and go
Sure.
to the Netherlands.
Right.
It's fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's something that you kind of. I mean, I don't know. If obviously if you ran into like a family member, you'd be like, so what happened? And like, what's going on with this? But if you're running into a stranger, if I like died tomorrow, knock on wood, and I didn't get to finish the series finale of Scandal, that would be the first thing I'd want to know when someone came down. Like, so
What?
did they finally kill Olivia?
Whoa, fighting words.
I don't listen.
Need to know
We
the
all
status
know
of
what
Olivia
needs to
Pope
happen.
at
Oh my
all
god,
times.
no, Papa Pope has to die. Anyway, wrong show.
So we learn Benedict tells Penny that the library took the key, and so
So did y'all realize he was lying in that moment? Because in that moment I was like,
no,
this dude is lying.
not right off the bat, but we know you. We know your
because-
predilection for figuring things out.
Well, once he realized that Penny wasn't there for him, I would imagine he'd do whatever it would take to keep him there because he's so lonely.
Right, he just sort of panicked and
So I kind of was like, I don't know if he's telling the truth.
right.
When would he have run into a librarian where they would have cared enough to like pat him down?
Sure.
Also, there doesn't seem to be any checks or balances as we're coming in,
Exactly.
like who took your key and why. But I don't blame him. Like,
Yeah, I don't blame him.
You finally let out years of depression that you had been repressing. And then you get eaten by a dragon. That can't be fun. You got to go through a whole digestive system. You like get pooped
Probably
out.
get fired, a little fire on you as well.
Yeah,
Your
no, that's
body's
not
just
pleasant.
scorched.
And now, and now that you've come to realization with those terms, you're like, I don't have any friends. And then somebody's like, I came for you. Oh my god, so exciting. I don't blame him for lying. To be like, just stay with me. I don't want to be alone forever. Who wants that? No one wants to be alone forever.
He wanted like one last adventure. He's like, I'll go with you to the library. And Penny being Penny was like, give me 10 minutes.
Right, I'm all set,
I
partner.
wouldn't want it. I was kind of mad that he didn't know Penny was lying. Like, I know he's naive and sweet, and so of course he wouldn't. It applies to his character. But my gosh, Penny, like, have a heart. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like,
Either way, he knew Penny was going to eventually have to come back to him.
that's also true.
He had to go.
Also, I'm not sure how sneaky that guy could be.
Who, Benedict?
Yeah, I don't
Right.
He doesn't strike me as a sleuthy person.
No,
I
not
mean, the
something.
Pickwicks are like his brother is a pickpocket.
Yeah.
So they have
True.
the capabilities.
I mean,
be
Pickwick was there. I'd be
stealthy.
like, you have to take that guy in. He's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Especially if I think the librarian has a key.
Yeah.
Like, we can just... But this, you can draw maps.
Right.
That's
Right.
what you do, Benedict.
So on this little side quest, Penny says, "You know what? I'll be back in 10. You sit tight." He runs into Sylvia, who we haven't seen since the Poison
It's
Room?
like the season finale
Right.
of last season.
Right, exactly. Runs into Sylvia, who has been kind of following along with his progress with those written pages, which we find out being written by Cassandra bears a striking resemblance to Alice.
Yeah.
Striking resemblance. Maybe is Alice?
No.
I have so many questions
Yeah.
here. Okay, first, now, just to skip a little bit ahead, now that we know that Harriet is the head librarian's daughter, do we think that Sylvia was a replacement for Harriet in some kind of way? Their
interesting.
mentalities are so similar, just in that they both kind of hate the world and don't like a lot of things. I mean, I know her dad kind of led her in there, if I'm remembering Sylvia's backstory
That-
Her
correctly.
dad was
That's-
like a mobster.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
I don't know. I think because I kind of get the feeling that Sylvia isn't necessarily. She might be ageless. It depends. When I look at her style, it doesn't seem like it's so far away. Maybe she's been there since like the late '90s.
Right.
Yeah.
90s.
Right.
And then, but Harriet would have left probably in maybe the 70s or 80s.
The time works differently for the librarians.
It does.
Also
but
true.
Just judging by how much she ate, like if she was 10 or 12 in 1952. And then I think the next time we jumped, it was what, 19...
Let's see. In 1952, 1985 was the next time
1985
we
was
saw
when she was like the 20s, late teen, 20
with
something.
the dark hair. Yeah,
the dark
yeah.
hair.
Then 2007.
And then 2007. So, I mean, I don't know. She, I mean, and not to Marley Matlin, but it just seemed like she aged a lot between 1985 and 2007.
Sure.
Or maybe I don't, but actually never, I don't, maybe I just don't realize how much 30 years can age you.
Yeah.
Actually, yes, it can, because I was
Don't want to talk about it. I was a baby.
non-existent.
Yeah, totally.
So, but yeah, so I guess that makes sense. Never mind.
Yeah, so
Right.
even if it's not like
Perfect
a malicious thing, like I feel like maybe that was why the head librarian attached herself so much to Sylvia, because maybe she reminded her of Harriet. And then my other question is, okay, so Alice, pretty cursed in every life. Like, if we're just gonna be honest, like there's not an existence in which Alice has not been cursed.
Can't really catch a break.
So
I think it's also probably because of Alice's, and this sounds awful, quest for knowledge. So if you like, I went and looked up the story of Cassandra, and she wanted to, there's a few different stories, but like one was that Apollo was trying to seduce her, and so gave her the power to see prophecies, basically, or to have prophecies. And when she denied him, he spit into her mouth, and so basically anytime she would tell a prophecy, no one would believe her. And then another one was like where she like wanted the power of prophecy, and he gave it to her, and then in exchange for sex, and when she denied him sex, that's when he did it. So there's like a few conflicting things, but it does seem like there's like something tied to the fact that she's always striving for this power or for this knowledge, and it ends up backfiring.
and then we
'cause
get
gods are
Elliot even
assholes.
saying
Right.
like, "Are you working for the library?" We've already got time loops in here before, and now we have an insane genocide of a battery. I think it is Alice. I think maybe she goes by Cassandra in this space, but I firmly believe that's Alice.
It could also, it could be a different version of Alice from a
Right.
different time loop. It
Sure.
could be, like if you like any type of, I mean, like if you can go into any type of theory of reincarnation, if possible, where basically this is like a separate version of Alice that would have reincarnated into Alice, but because
Right.
of how she got caught in the schism and she's stuck in this time, I don't know. There's a bunch of different things you go.
I mean, yeah. Well, Sylvia does mention, and we don't know how true this is, but she does mention that Cassandra's been at this for thousands of years. However, that applies in the library, you know.
Yeah, and just judging by the fact that this is when I realized, oh, okay, the librarians don't age. If you're down there, then you won't age. It's not just like, it wasn't just that if Penny goes to a certain branch of the library, he doesn't age. It's just that the time in the library is completely different because the head librarian, Harriet's mom, didn't we get her name last season?
God, I'm sure we did.
Help us out, chat. Do we know the head librarian's name?
Wasn't it written on the bag that Sylvia gave to Penny?
But
did we see the bag?
Almost positive we got it at some point.
I don't think we saw the bag.
Cut us some slack.
Also, who is her mother or her father? I have a lot of questions.
Right?
We've never seen her be any kind of sexual with anybody. Like, she's not a flirty kind of person, or like, I'm just curious. Like, how do they get together?
Very straight-laced.
I also kind of get a feeling that kind of comes from maybe the time period that the librarians seem to be stuck in. They do seem to be stuck in a kind of 1950s time.
Sure.
Is that when the library was created? That seems like
Zelda.
Zelda. There we go.
The name.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lanacero. Thank you, Batman's Butthurt. Thank you, guys.
So I don't know. It was nice to see that the reason that Harriet was doing all these things is because she had grown up in the library.
Right.
So she had that gave her motives understanding. But
Right.
Now I'm like, but I want to know more.
Sure. And since the conceit of this episode is kind of seeing all the different angles of these stories, I feel like we can kind of jump around a little bit. So let's use this opportunity to talk about Harriet's segment of the episode and just like...
God, I love that.
I want to talk about how much I love that. I mean, Master of None, people's love for it is kind of complicated right now. Nonetheless, that episode where they do from the deaf people or deaf woman's point of view was so amazing. And I'm so happy to see the magicians use the same thing because now I know. So the moment it went quiet, I was probably looking down and I was like, oh, is this deaf people?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Because I was like, I really have to like focus and watch, and I appreciate that because it's like me having to kind of lean into something that I normally take as a privilege, you know.
It's great to see not just representation, but the idea that you're kind of walking around in someone else's world space for a little bit is always fun and fascinating. And then I just love, like, you really give your actors a chance to shine because even without subtitles for a lot of it, that conversation was very easy to read.
Sure.
So it's just fun to explore and then to introduce those two's relationship in that manner, in a way that, like, oh no, we're both fluent and she never feels the need to be heard in a different way. And I just really like that her mother is a librarian and that she's essentially like a rebellious teen stuck on a loop.
Yeah.
And there's so much love between them. It was heartbreaking when she's like, I don't want to hurt you. And I was like, well, then just don't.
When she throws up that wall,
Yeah. Oh, man. And then the discovery of the suitcase, like... I feel like we're going to get so much more into the mother. Like, we kind of have had parental relationships before.
Sure.
With Elliot and his crazy father. You got to see him be eaten by cannibals. That was, like, a high peak for me. Alice and, of course, her nutty parents. But it's cool to see, like, an ancillary character and a loving parental relationship, which we haven't really had before.
Right.
I hope we get more of them, especially considering where Harriet ends up at the end of this episode. Kind of stuck on a mirror bridge to nowhere. Without the she didn't even get the battery, which, can we talk about this battery?
Right.
We'll get there.
Right, yeah. So that, and I feel like that use of silence is something that we're seeing more and more of in pop culture and in film and TV. This sort of people aren't shying away from using it, and it's such a powerful tool when it's used the right way, you know. Especially,
I don't know if you guys, did you see the story circulating? A guy who's a film reviewer. I think that's his profession. But he talked about how he hasn't been to a theater in a decade because he does not like the reading devices. They're big and they're clunky and they don't quite work. I don't know if you guys have ever seen them, but they sit in like the cup holder and then they sit at eye level. But the arm for it is very thin and the device itself is maybe the size of like 2 iPhones stacked on top of each other. So it's weighty. So it slips down a lot and then you have to move and then people are feeling distracted by the device. We don't have screenings like back in the 90s. I think it's when they stopped. They had screenings with subtitles.
Yeah, right.
Even if it was in English, you could just people with different types of abilities could view the screen. And And they don't have those anymore. And he went to go see Black Panther because he was excited about the hype, and he couldn't watch it for more than 15 minutes because it was just an impossible. The translation wasn't coming in right. So it's nice to see shows finding a way to be inclusive.
Yeah.
Which shows that TV is continuing to push to be like the more accessible medium.
Right.
And that's something, yeah, because that's something I was in improv class today because I'm an actor in LA, and and we were doing scenes like based on like moods. Like we listen to a piece of music and then we do a scene off of it. And I'm like, and I had the thought because knew I was coming here tonight. I was like, it'd be really cool to do a scene where it was mainly sign language. Like,
Yeah.
And like, because it would be like us being able to physically act out things, but then also it would be inclusive for people who really couldn't always catch all the jokes in improv. And so it was just those kind of things that you don't, like when you're exposed to another person's world, then you start to think about, well, how could I include this more in my own world? And so that's something that, even that, I feel like Google Glass could definitely be the remedy for a lot of deaf people when they want to go see a movie. But on Google Glass, it does the subtitles for you. So I'm just giving that to you, Google.
That's free. Just take it. Make the world a better
Just take it.
place.
I would like a cut, but it's okay. Like that kind of stuff. It seems like it's so simple to fix if people are actually considering it. You know.
Totally.
Right.
So right on Magicians, you did that.
There you go. So let's talk about Poppy's role in all of this. And sort of how we start with that sex scene between her and Quentin, where she's basically just like trying to kind of get him out of his own head about all of this, you know?
Yeah, it was a very transactional sex scene. Like, no, because it was usually sex scenes are in The Magicians are like pretty sexy.
Sure.
And you could tell that it was like.
I was remembering the time Quentin had sex with a girl and they had like switched bodies and it was very awkward and we.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes they're transactional.
Wait, when they had switched bodies? Well, when they changed, when he became what's his face?
The professor.
Yeah. Like, but yeah, that was weird. But even then, they kind of like were able to like make. At
least it was drunk sex. Like all the sex kind of has been like either drunk sex or passionate. It comes from a very emotional place. I think this may be our first very logical.
Yeah.
Like I need something from you.
Yeah.
Right.
Which kind of made me question Poppy's intentions overall.
Oh God,
and
yes. This whole time, yeah.
Definitely thought she was just gonna screw over Victoria and like leave her out to dry. So I was surprised that she was like the only one to run back early because she was concerned
Right.
about Victoria. But I still don't know what her intentions are. There's something behind, and this is a kudos to Felicia Day. There's just always something behind Poppy's eyes that I don't trust.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And I love this ongoing dynamic between Quentin and Poppy, all about his sort of hero's journey. You know, he talks about the relationship between the quest and the quester, and
I mean,
being a hero. And
I think I yelled when we were watching it. Like, we've already been over this. You are not the hero of this story. This is the whole journey of season 1. Was how you are not the hero of this story.
But then I think his argument is that maybe that makes him the hero.
It's
in a very sort of paradoxical kind of way.
And I'm gonna get so much shit on YouTube for what I'm about to say.
Go for it.
But it's kind of a commentary on a cis straight white man.
What? Say that louder, sis. Let me hear your
On a cis
voice.
straight white man and his belief that he should be the hero of the story.
Sure.
Because he's surrounded by people who do not fit that label.
Right.
And they've all proven to be in some way or another the heroes of the story. And it's like, share the wealth, dude.
Sure.
Share the wealth. Like it's not about you, Quentin.
But also, like, the idea that he would need to be the hero.
Exactly.
Or that there is a hero. Like, if we
Exactly.
learn anything at this point, it's like all of you have to work together to reach a common goal. Like, there is
Exactly.
no one person who is out here except for, oh my God, names. His best friend.
Who's best friend?
Quentin's best friend.
Julia.
Julia,
Yeah. Except for Julia, who is a total badass. All of y'all are expendable if it comes down to the wire. And I just feel like for Quentin to be lamenting about this when what your real goal is we just need to get that key.
Yeah.
It's so... And it's an existential crisis. It does not need to be happening. And I'm kind of bored with it. I have such weird feelings about Poppy. I have very weird feelings. Because at first I'm like, man... I really dig her level of honesty.
Right.
Right?
And she makes cogent points for sure.
Yeah. But she's like, you know what? I'm just an asshole. I'm aware of who I am,
Yeah.
and I
Right.
think it's much braver for me to just live out loud in that moment
Right.
and accept whatever consequences may come.
And that's what she says. Yeah, she says, "Be you and accept the consequences."
Yeah.
I love that sentiment. Yeah.
I think the show does a really good job of giving. I don't think the fact that Quentin is having these like kind of this crisis of like herodom without, you know, it's not a coincidence that, you know, you can watch that and be like, well, obviously this is like his journey to learn that he has to
Right.
kind of share this, and just like how Elliot and Margot it was their journey to learn that you can be a hot mess of a person and still get shit done. And so like it's kind of like they all have to learn like their own little, and Penny will learn something someday.
Right.
I believe that.
Right.
I really liked watching
Yeah.
Alice and Poppy go at it too. Like watching two waspy white women just duke it out. I was like, I'm here for this. This is messy and
Yeah.
it's enjoyable.
Sure.
Particularly Alice being like, yeah, I'm not really worried about Quentin's dick. Like, why?
Right.
I've not been on that in a minute.
Q is only bisexual when it serves him. He is not. I wouldn't say he identifies as bisexual. Just talking to Denzel.
Actually, interesting.
I feel like that gets into murky territory.
Yeah, I would actually say Q is 100% bisexual. I think he has a preference for women.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm saying, well, this is something that I've been kind of like noticing just in pop culture. I was like, it seems like there is a desire for people to talk more about bisexuality, because I think a lot of people who identify as straight are starting to kind of realize maybe they're not really straight.
Sure.
And so, but I think, yeah, exactly. But I think even though Q would talk about that spectrum, I think if you asked him, like, hey, but what are you? He'd be like, it's a spectrum, but I'm probably straight.
Right,
Like, you
right,
know what I
right.
mean? Like, I'm not saying it's not a knock to
He
him.
can- he can
It's
at the
just
very-
one of those things that I think that, and I'm not talking about like the story as like, oh well. Like I said, the show is having a commentary on that kind of mindset
Sure.
of the fact that this is straight white man is having a crisis of herodom. I think that's intentional by the show.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
I respect that.
And that's and that is an interesting point. The idea of if the character of Quentin would identify as such, because at the very least he does have straight passing privilege, and kind of it, to your point, it has really only come up in sort of these times of necessity. You know, he has this relationship with Elliot when they're in a completely different timeline, and they're the only two people around each other.
And then even then, that's only briefly, and then he ends up married to a woman and has a child.
Sure.
Or when he has the threesome with Margot and Elliot, that's also due to the fact they're like emotionally drunk.
Sure.
And also Margot was there, so they're like.
There's a lot of layers
I get
to
what
it.
what people are saying with that, but at the same time, it's not like he's had active relationships with men that we've seen so far.
Sure. Active is an interesting kind of difference to toe in that context. But yeah, I think if we were to pick anyone of kind of our main characters that would theoretically identify as strictly straight, it would probably be Penny. And really, that's sort of it seems like, you know?
Totally.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
I mean, maybe Josh, but we don't really know enough about him.
Yeah, I don't think Josh is
Right?
strictly straight.
Josh, yeah.
If Josh
yeah.
is gay for anything, it's his tomatoes. Like, that's it.
Interesting. That's a very, very interesting concept and interesting argument. So thank you, Denzel, for bringing that up. I mean, not to keep going, but I think this is an interesting conversation to have. But Christian P mentions that I always resonated with Q falling under the label of pansexuality, which is
Christian, you get an applause.
a very, very interesting point for sure.
Totally. He's pretty much about anything as long as, like, we're simpatico.
Sure,
Like, that's it.
sure.
He's like, are you happy? Don't be mad at me. Like, it's mostly just about his existential dread.
Yeah.
And that he's cool with.
Of which there's plenty for sure. So let's kind of segue from Poppy to Alice and Alice's kind of whole role
my
in all of this.
We learned so much about Alice and her story in such a short time.
Right.
I was stunned when she was like, they were talking to her about getting the power, and she's like, look, if I give you this, then you might be getting power that you don't even deserve, or power you shouldn't have, I think are her actual words.
Right. Is this when she's talking to Harriet and Katie?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's such huge growth for her. only to have that smack down 2 seconds later, which is like, I want to continue what I was on. I was like, Alice, no!
Right.
No, we were so close.
But it seems like what she was, her quest for, I'm blanking on the term that she used, but on...
Oh, unified theory of magic.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Was pure and its thought or
In its inception, for
yeah,
sure.
exactly. And then the Nif inside of her just kind of like went buck wild with it. So
Right.
I'm curious to see this version of Alice go after that same thing, especially now that magic is actually gone.
Sure. And I think Renji in the chat earlier on brought up the point of absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think on a long enough timeline, when she reaches that threshold of knowing everything, I think that's when that side of her could probably kick in. And that's when everything goes to shit.
It's crazy.
That's when she becomes Cassandra.
Tasted just a little bit of power, and she was like, I want it. I want it. I was like, oh my God.
Right.
You don't know what you want, really. Like, we've already been down this road, and it caused you so much hurt. You lost your father because of this. It's incredible to me how addicted to power and knowledge she is. And I wonder how far she'll end up pushing that.
Well, it's like her and Julia kind of had the same mindset and the same quest. It's just they go about it differently. Julia has had a power thrust upon her that she never wanted. She just wanted the knowledge. And I think Alice has had the taste of power along with already having the knowledge, which is just magnified the desire for power.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's late, y'all.
Yeah. No. I get
You're
it.
making it sense.
I
You're
get it.
stringing together the sentences.
After this exchange between Alice, Harry, and Katie, we see Fen bust through the clock, and we get that exchange between Alice and Fen a little bit later on.
Yeah. Well, I liked that Fen kind of clarified stuff for Alice, because Alice has kind of been mopey since she came back as a human. And Fen was like, what are you talking about? I can never see my child again. You can go and find what you want. It's still out there. Go get it.
Drunk Fen is my mascot.
Absolutely.
Like, I really like her. She's dressed in like modern day Earth clothes, which is really interesting to see her kind of not in her role as like a knife sharpener's daughter or as queen, but as just, like a normal person. Also, I've never felt like a sense of regality from her. Like, she never gave off kind of a regal presence, but her walking around like just in her power with that drink in hand, I was like, I want more of this Fen, like a confident, out there making decisions for herself Fen. So I'm glad she's taking this time to kind of explore her options and see how she wants to heal from this tragedy, especially when we get into the fairy house. Like, that is interesting.
And that was the next thing I wanted to talk about. This, once again, the conceit of this episode is making it a little bit hard to talk about in a linear fashion, but let's use that to segue into Fen's interaction with this fairy, with Sky. Which it's, we see Irene in the episode. We see her accompanied by this fairy, which I think you had made the point.
Sure the moment that fairy popped up from behind her, I was like, I wanted to be like, called it. If I could drop this mic, I would. But I was like, I knew it, and it's fairy dust. Called it.
Right. And so we see this fairy that's just kind of this sort of indentured servant, just kind of having to wait on Irene and just kind of be by her side.
So sad. And so many lies she's been told, but there are no fairies left, which the show drops so many like subtle sentences that you're like blow up the whole theory of the world for you.
Right.
This was definitely one of those lines of like, so not only are they essentially enslaved, but they're enslaved through ignorance, which is a very powerful statement to make. And then on top of that, just so abused and not cared for as individuals. And it reminded me a lot of Frey from last week when she learned like how little value she had to the fairies, and kind of maybe gave me insight as to why Frey is where she is. If you think that this house has been stealing or capturing fairies for a long time and holding them onto them, maybe that was retaliation. Like, maybe they caught Frey as some kind of back and forth. There definitely seems to be some kind of, they're growing fairies, so we know that there's something going on there.
Is it like a rebellion or something?
Are fairies going extinct? Are they being? Is it, again, to think of like, is it like genocide? Are they being killed off and just hunted? It's very weird, and I have a lot of questions.
Sure.
It makes, especially now that we know that that's what the battery was at the library.
Right.
It was just a bunch of fairy dust.
It's a genocidal battery.
I was like,
This like Pulp
God.
Fiction-esque briefcase just filled with the powder.
True.
Well, it just makes me think like, what are fairies in the bigger picture of magic? Like, are they just like a really superior group of people who've invented math and science that ends up captured and enslaved and put on boats and forced into labor?
Could be, maybe.
It's something that was like so like, oh, this is so horrifying. Like, what is really going on with the fairies? Because even just the abuse of watching Sky get her leg cut off just for fairy dust, like that's such a common thing that happens in any type of enslavement in the world, whether that be old American slavery or current slavery that happens. So I was like, oh, what are they going to do with the storyline? Because I'm really nervous about it now.
Yeah, I just learned that George Washington's teeth, not made of wood. I knew that part. Didn't know made from slaves' teeth. Yeah, they have those things on exhibit in a museum.
Yeah.
Very foul. So the idea that like magic is literally in their bones.
Yeah.
And then
What's gonna happen to fairies if they are that disposable and their magic can be basically siphoned from them that easily? Because it doesn't seem like that's something that's easily done with all magical creatures.
it can't be easy either. Like
Yeah.
you're cutting off a leg from a being. Like there's a lot of work and disguise, and then all of that has
With
to
a
be
bone
grounded to
saw.
powder.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And then you have to wonder, like the queen, which I've been talking about for a while, trying to help Elliot and Margot. And she says, you know, in the carriage last time we see her, like, I can't help you anymore, so you're on your own. They can see me, but they can also see you. Was she trying to get back at them? Like, we know she was harvesting their world, but I still feel like she sees the larger picture.
Yeah.
I don't think she's as virtuistic as you think she is.
I don't think it's about virtue. I think she, again, the larger picture is like magic on the whole is better. Like we are better for having magic, but maybe we didn't appreciate it enough. And also, like, maybe in the end, like, she gets magic back and her plan is to usurp everybody and be like, now it's ours, bitches. Like,
Right.
we take everything from you. And honestly, the way the story's looking right now, I'm with the queen. Like,
Sure.
you deserve, woman. Take what you need. But I don't know.
I mean, the Magicians is a show that kind of like will slip in like social commentary in the sneakiest way, and so I'm curious to see what they're going to do with this storyline, because it's just I kind of was always like, I don't know, man, something's up with the fairy.
Sure.
Like, it doesn't feel
Well, and was this kind of the
legit.
first time that we saw a fairy in such a state of vulnerability?
Yes.
Yeah, well, with the exception
we
of like
know
the
of.
Sure.
moment in Irene's house where you see them kind of standing,
Right,
watching
but
Julia.
even then, it was still
in
a little bit unclear.
like a servitude. Yeah,
What was up with Irene's, like, rash stomach belly thing?
Oh, that
she's-
side effect of the powder, yeah.
I think it has to do with the fact that she's not a magical creature and she's not
there you go.
supposed to be ingesting it.
That's
It's
true.
like it's probably like I mean, I don't know. I would imagine that would have some effect on your body.
Sure.
And also just that little tidbit that they dropped earlier with I guess the kind of revelation that we got that travelers are hybrids. And I was like, oh man, are they going to do something? Something's going to happen to Vinny? Something's
Right.
going to happen to the travelers?
Right, and I also question if Irene has it and the librarians have it, is there a connection there at all? Like, she bought the school. We know the librarians are trying to mostly just protect the libraries and the knowledge.
But they also want to know about the keys.
Exactly.
Zelda mentioned that.
Right.
But without taking, it appears, too much action. Like, it's a weird thing to look at the librarians and be like, look, we can read, we have all of the knowledge, but we keep it here. And that honing and siphoning of knowledge has given them essentially an ignorant population who cannot help with magic. To me, I was just like, will you listen to Harriet? Like, she's like, even a little bit. Like, she came way down. She went from, like, open the library to everyone to, like, maybe we just allow a few additional members who could maybe help us get through the great blank spot. I don't understand how they could just be like, we'll just wait it out here.
Sure.
Like, everything is too terrifying. We're just not going to move. That is anxiety manifesting itself, and you have to get through that. Like, it made my anxiety spike. I was like, don't do nothing. That's the worst.
Yeah.
Right.
she's like, well, what if I let people in and that creates a spot? And Harriet's like, you don't know that.
The great spot is coming no matter
The great
what we
spot, yeah.
do.
Mhm.
We can't do anything about it. Like, it's written. It's literally, it's not written, but it's there.
Yeah.
So we have to do something.
Yeah.
And the idea of just like standing around is crazy to me. I also found it crazy that her words, Zelda's words, got turned on her so quickly when she says, like, yeah, it's not unusual for a librarian to be, what did she say, a roguish belligerent or
A traveler.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, totally. And for her, oh my God, the pain. When he smashes that mirror, I just really felt for Zelda. Like, she was
That
like,
was such a
Yeah.
wild moment.
but my baby, like, no, and it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
What? I mean, are we in predictions? I'm sorry, I feel like I've been.
no,
not
I think we have a few
quite.
more.
There's a little bit more about
Okay.
the episode, yeah.
It did explain like a lot of Penny's behavior when she said that about how travelers are. And I was like, oh, okay, so well then
Interesting.
what are travelers hybrids of? Like if this is kind of their behavior and this is their kind of the mindset, like what are they, like a hybrid of like are they like demigods? Is Ares their father or some crap? Because Ares is, temperamental.
Sure.
But it's nice to see the world kind of get blown up a little bit more, and for us to also still come back to that kind of Greek mythology, and then also just to have the clarification that it is fairy dust that these people are snorting, and
Right.
what does that mean for them
Yeah, exactly.
in the long run?
I didn't know it was gonna be bone powder. You know what I mean? I thought there had to be a different way of extracting it.
Right.
It's still shocking.
I figured it was probably gruesome.
Something pretty grisly.
I should
Yeah.
have known. It's the magicians.
Of course, exactly. So we've talked about a lot about how these stories kind of intersected. Alice trying to throw those rocks into the book drop to summon this traveler and take her, sort of take her where.
It's the library.
Yeah,
underground?
yeah, exactly. We got that. We've got Sylvia turning on Penny.
Yeah.
God, heartbreaking. And I guess we should have known. Like, she was a librarian. We know that your contract doesn't end. Interesting to me that she still helped him get the key, though, which you can't imagine that the librarians wanted them to do.
No, they do. Because that's what the whole thing with Zelda is, that she wanted Alice's help with the quest, the 7 keys. And so I get the feeling that that they want them to find the keys, but I think they also want somebody on the inside giving them notes for what's going on as they find the keys.
Sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong. We never see Alice join the library. Like, it's kind of offered to her. We see her dance around it. I kept waiting to see the moment where she becomes, but they've left a giant question mark.
Because Zelda gets pulled away.
Oh, right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think that's necessarily means that they're not going to come back at some point, and if they don't try and go after Alice, they'll try and go after someone else. But it seems like, for the most part, people want them on this quest. And so that's probably why Sylvia let Penny get the key back, because the moment she knew the key was on the way to Q is when she closed it and was like, I'm sorry.
Right.
That's still really messed up, though.
Yeah, exactly. So where do we leave off? We've got Penny getting carted away by these librarians.
Yeah.
But wait, we did skip the moment where Penny, once he realizes that Benedict has the key,
Right.
he goes back to Benedict and offers him a job with the library,
That's
working
right.
in their map room.
That's right. And
It's the perfect place for Benedict.
right, and exactly, and we get that moment, that sort of turning point for Penny, where he does realize, like, you were the only one that cried when I died. You know, whatever I feel about you, we are friends, and I do appreciate you. You know, and so you can. What's that? What?
I easily said Penny. Penny is like one of those friends who's like, no, but I really do love you, but bro, you are never here.
Right.
Like, you do so much freaking lip service to literally everyone in your life. Like,
Well, what,
no,
he's-
I really do care.
He's
and
not
I
gonna stick
value
around
you.
and bro out with him. Like, he can say that he appreciates him and not like be besties with him.
Okay. No, I don't buy it. Look, here's the thing.
He appreciates him. He doesn't necessarily like him.
That might be fair. I'll give you that one.
Those two personalities, I think, are two.
Penny is a terrible friend, is all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
I love
that's-
him, but
that's-
he's a terrible friend.
That's consistently been proven.
That's fair. That's fair.
With the exception of Katie, and that's mainly
not
because
And that's really-
he
yeah.
has sex with her and is romantically involved. With
Sure.
her.
much more invested in that. So we've got that. We've got Harry and Victoria sort of trapped in this kind of
Mirror bridge. Yeah.
That is existentially horrifying on like a Black Mirror type of level.
Oh, yeah. No, totally.
Bruh.
Again, going back to Alice's quote, am I the only one who recognizes that eternity is longer than a billion years?
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, are you just floating through infinite space in the dark forever?
If the bridge
Worst
is
nightmare.
broken, does it exist anymore?
Right.
If basically the way to travel is to essentially travel through a void, and once the bridge is no longer there, are they just stuck in an endless void where time no longer exists?
You know
Sorry,
who
this is really dark.
Jeez.
But you know who I bet could fix this? Mama Librarian. I just feel like Zelda has the power. Like,
Possibly, yeah.
she at least has the knowledge. Whether she has the desire or ability to
Yeah.
act upon it, we'll have to see.
And I believe there are multiple mirrors in that room. When we see that traveler smash that one mirror, I think there's another one next to it, right?
No,
It
there's
smashed
two.
when
Really?
he smashed it.
Both of them broke into.
No, but I thought the one that he smashes, there's one directly to the side. of
Yes.
it.
on their side.
Yeah, on
And,
their
and
side.
then when he
But not
smashes
in
that
the mirror
one,
bridge.
I
this
see.
one also smashed. Like
Right.
the bridge had been severed.
The mirror in the bathroom with the librarian.
There's a second mirror in the
but
bathroom.
that
That's what I'm talking
mirror's
about.
not connected.
But
to
not
the
on the other
mirror.
side. Yeah,
No,
I
no,
got
no.
it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Let's get into predictions. We don't have too much time
Is there
left. Let's
anything
get into
else
those
left?
predictions.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Adrian.
What? I'm just reading. He's very. Denzel is like, Q is bisexual. I'm not denying that he's bisexual. I'm just saying about what he would say. Okay? Just saying.
Right. That's fair.
Anyways,
That's
and I'm talking about straight privilege.
fair. All right.
Is it up to me? I don't know. What? Stuff's gonna happen.
You're always the one that's dead on. You give us
think-
something.
So we see Penny carted away, and I'm curious to see if him being stuck working as a librarian is going to have any change on him. I'm really curious to see what's going to happen with Elliot and Margot, because we didn't really talk about them and how
No,
they're
yeah.
basically like having court and
With a wombat?
a wombat.
Oh my
A
God.
marsupial wombat? Is that
Right.
there?
Right.
Is basically going to call them guilty or not guilty.
And the fact that Elliot's in this position of hating Fillory but still
Yeah.
having to fight for it.
Yeah, and then I'm really just curious about what's gonna go down with the fairies and what that means,
Right.
And
right.
how what Julia's gonna do about it.
We have a musical episode and a new
Sure do.
key next week, which I'm very excited about. That'll be key number 5.
It will.
Yes.
Oh my God, guys, we're getting so close. 2 more keys. I don't think we're gonna get much more backstory on the fairies. They like to do this to us, tease a little, and then you have to wait. Little Easter eggs will probably pop up. But I feel like next week is gonna be mostly the court trial for Elliot and Margot, and then them trying to deal with whatever challenges the key throws at them. I really would like to see Quentin step up, and like he's been doing actually a really good job, but I would like to
Yes.
see him, maybe interact more with the rest of the crew.
I want him to understand it's not just about him.
It just really is not
It's a
cute, and that's
community.
okay. I still love you.
You can't do Dungeons and Dragons without having everybody there.
I hope Fen sticks around
Sure.
and gets like a musical number or something. Also, I'd like to see her pick up a trade is the wrong word. But like, I want to see her pick up a sword. Like she's got these knives down. Like I want to see her go full warrior mommy kind of mode now.
Sure.
I think she's attached more to Frey than she thinks she is. I want that mother-daughter relationship back. And then I'm hoping for a ton of pop songs. Hopefully like a musical number. The Les Mis really gave me a lot of feels last time. So maybe like a Rent bop. You guys are going through some heavy dramatic stuff. Seasons of Love could not hurt you at this point in time. Let's be real about it.
Right.
Other than that, I'm just really looking forward to like it just looks like an all-out, like almost High School Musical style shooting, and I'm here for it.
I'm pretty excited. Pretty excited. I'm gonna get through it really quick, but I think Irene. I don't think she's gonna be around much longer. I think she's gonna bite the big one here pretty soon as a result of this fairy dust.
We'll see.
But who knows, guys? Tell us your predictions on YouTube, on Twitter, in iTunes, all that stuff. Hit us up. We want to talk about this episode of The Magicians and the rest of season 3, and then the upcoming season 4, as we found out today. Very exciting stuff. But thank you so much for joining us. As I said at the top of the show, Caroline will be back leading the charge next week. We'll be talking season 3, episode 9 already. Holy crap, we're 9 episodes into this season.
So happy.
But y'all, tell them where they can find you.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Adrian Snow.
I'm Joelle Monique. You can find me all over the internet at Joelle Monique, every week at blackgirlnerds.com, and March 13th on Heroes at Collider.
There you go. Guys, my name is Ty Matthews. Y'all can find me on all forms of social media at Ty Matthews PMA. If you're fans of pro wrestling, check out Championship Wrestling from Hollywood Saturdays. Check those local listings. It's fun stuff. I get in there, get my hands dirty, wrestle, all that fun stuff when I'm not talking about the magicians. But next week, we'll be right back here, same time, same channel, talking season 3, episode 9. But until then, peace.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.